Now let's dive deep into this big LGBTQ story for today. I'm Buddy Fry, and let's queer up the USA view. Key issues as Supreme Court hears reverse discrimination, straight people versus gay. The U.S. Supreme Court heard oral arguments yesterday in Ames versus Ohio Department of Youth Services, a case that could reshape how discrimination claims are handled under Title VII of the Civil Rights Act. At issue is whether majority group plaintiffs, like heterosexual employees alleging discrimination based on sexual orientation or white employees claiming racial discrimination, must meet a higher evidentiary standard than others. Marlean Ames, a former Ohio Department of Youth Service employee, argues she was denied a promotion and removed from her position, while less qualified queer employees were given the roles that she sought. Her case was dismissed under the Sixth Circuit's heightened standard, which requires majority group plaintiffs to demonstrate, quote, background circumstances to establish a claim. Justice Elena Kagan sharply criticized this rule, pointing out that Ames would not have faced this extra burden if she were gay. Kagan said because Ames is heterosexual, she must make a showing in addition to the usual ones for establishing a prima facie case. She asked if this meant unequal treatment. Ames's attorney, Zhao Wang, argued the rule contradicts Title VII's goal of eradicating workplace discrimination. He stressed that sorting individuals into majority and minority groups perpetuates bias, rather than eliminating it. The case has significant implications. If the Supreme Court sides with Ames, it could eliminate the background circumstances rule, making it easier for all employees to seek justice under Title VII. The ruling could have dramatic effects on discrimination cases against minority classes of people, especially people of color and LGBTQ. A ruling is expected in June. I mean, this hurts on so many levels because the whole reason for Title VII was to eradicate preference for cisgendered and white America dominating just because. And now we've finally made a few steps forward, and now it's being questioned again because of the current administration.
Right.
And this particular woman's view that, well, I don't know the specifics because it's not been discussed because it's still in process. You know, if she had any rights to sit there and claim it, I mean, she might have had a horrible track record. I have no idea. But to sit there and say that, oh, Stephen and Susan over there got my job because they're gay, that's, you know, how do you...
It's a complicated thing. I remember the Wall Street Journal actually did an article about, apparently, it's something that HR managers like to do, is if they think you're not qualified to be picked and you're a white person, they'll say the reason the other person got it was a DEI reason, which is very toxic.
Yeah.
But on the legal aspects, and, you know, I find it fascinating because, one, I do think that the standard to show discrimination is way too high. Because I have seen it way too often, and like I have seen it in the progressive nonprofit space. I've seen weird, uncomfortable decisions of trying to like find an excuse to find someone of a particular skin color. I'm like, that's not how that's not how labor laws should be applied. Or like, I remember, I won't say which particular employer, but I was hired at one place many years back, and it was a progressive nonprofit group. And one of the staffers said to me, like, you weren't supposed to get the job, but you were too perfect because of my skin color. And I was like, that's not that's not,
that.
yeah, but under the strict scrutiny, like what, like I wasn't going to do anything.
No,
it
right,
made me feel uncomfortable to work there, though. Yeah. But like what I face is nothing compared to like some. I have a friend that's a black woman trying to get a job right now. Right. She's faced all sorts of stuff with that, and like the fact that these higher standards are in place, it's a problem for everyone. Like, remember, if Elena Kagan is questioning it, she's not some dummy right-winger.
Right.
But at the same time, it's sad that, like you said or indicated, that a lot of times it's it's a DEI thing. Well, that's kind of a cop out and a crapshoot.
Right.
You know, so that, I mean, we need to train people that it's not an excuse. It's a There's a reason behind that.
Well, it's about sowing divisiveness among your workers. Let's be honest. It's a very common tactic in this country to divide black and white workers against each other.
Gay and straight.
Right.
Exactly. And,
and women against women. I mean, it's horrifying.
Exactly.
Yes, right.
And, I look at these sorts of situations and it reminds me, like, we need to have we need to have better ways of hiring and promoting that is more like based on true merit that allows more equality. And I'm going to mention one quick little case study. I can't remember, it was probably like 100 years ago, but there was an orchestra that was like, oh, we can't get any women. No women are good. So they did blind castings, and they put carpeting on the floor so you couldn't tell who had high heels.
Right.
And guess what? Magically, they started hiring a whole bunch of women. So the idea that, like, we need to do discriminatory things to create diversity is not a very positive idea, and is not borne out by the evidence. When you actually create real, actual blind abilities to actually give people an opportunity, people do get options and are able to succeed.
Right. I also think that Marlean Ames has homophobic hag written all over her sloppily made up face, and maybe she was denied because of that fried hair. Find a gay hairdresser. Thank you.
And that is a big LGBTQ story for today. There is no other queer nonprofit media platform like this in the entire world. Support our LGBTQ stories by subscribing and sharing Queer News Tonight.